babes? It's Bimini Bon-Boulash and you're listening to the ACS Show.
So this one's a special one.
Mm-hmm.
Bimini Bon-Boulash.
Yes.
You probably heard their name. Oh, and then he slipped up just then.
Mm-hmm.
But how did the name Bimini Bon-Boulash surface?
So, actually, Bimini was what my mum was going to call me if I was born female.
Okay.
I think it's a great name.
Lovely
I
name.
feel like in 2022 it's going to be the name that everyone calls their daughters. Although I did think that, but then actually all I've been hearing is people calling their pet pigs and dogs and cats Bimini, which wasn't what I was going for. And then Bon-Boulash was, I had a cat growing up called Bonnie Boulash,
Okay.
Right.
and that's where I got the name from.
And have you met anyone called Bimini before?
No.
I've never either.
No.
And we know you studied journalism at London College of Communication.
I did.
If you didn't go on RuPaul's Drag Race,
Yeah.
who could we see you writing for?
I don't know. It was a weird one when I was studying. I did a lot of the stuff that I spoke about was a lot of social issues, a lot of different things, politics, and I did write for a few different papers, did a bit of freelance, went on to study a master's and then got into drag. So the thing was, I was struggling to see what I wanted to write about would fit. I didn't just want to write about anything. I didn't just want to write about stuff that didn't mean a lot to me. So it was kind of that weird thing of like trying to fit it and find out where it would. I always grew up saying I wanted to work for The Guardian. I think that was where I would have aimed to have gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I got into drag, so who knows?
Yeah, no,
I mean, I might write for someone one day. Who knows?
I hope it's not. There's a few newspapers I won't say, but yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Don't want to get sued.
Exactly. And you released earlier this month God Save This Queen,
Yeah.
which we love.
Last month.
Last month, which we love.
Was it last month? Yeah, June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In July now. Are you working on any new music?
Yeah, so that was actually the first single I did during Drag Race. So we did on episode 5 there was the pop group challenge, and our group won. And because I'm not the best vocalist, I feel like you don't have to be the best vocalist. The producers that reached out to me liked the kind of raspy, prodigy, Keith Flinty, punky vibe of my voice. So we've been going in the studio and just having loads of fun. God Save This Queen was the first track I'd done. I've done so much more since then. I think I've got like 10 tracks.
Similar vibe or like?
All different. I've been experimenting. Some's gone quite dancey, some's very punky, some's quite pop. It's like all in that similar realm though, of that kind of like social commentary, very kind of 90s, noughties influences. But yeah, I'm excited for people to hear the other stuff. I just want to get it out there. I've got quite a few gigs coming up where I'll be able to do it, like Birmingham Pride.
Amazing.
And where I'll get to perform it for other music for the first time. So I'm really excited for that. And it's an organic process really, because obviously everyone grows up saying, I want to be a pop star, I want to be a musician, but I never thought it was going to happen. And the people I've been working with, I've been working with a really great team of people, but then other people have been reaching out. So there's like some collaborations in works. Amazing. And yeah, I'm just really excited to get more music out there.
Amazing. And who inspires you dead or alive in terms of music? Are there any specific artists or?
I think so. There's so many. I think like aesthetically and like from like a visual perspective, people like Grace Jones and Bowie.
I see that for sure.
Yeah, and like people that like really kind of push that like avant-garde, gender bending kind of way of looking. Madonna as well. Lady Gaga, the way she does her looks and stuff, but like sound wise as well, and like the way they kind of vocalize stuff. I like Lily Allen, Blur, Prodigy, like very 90s and noughties references, but then aesthetically kind of like very 70s, 80s pop artists.
And the stuff you're writing about and the stuff that you're recording, are they experiences that you've personally felt, or are you kind of drawing from a different influence? Or
yeah, no, I try to talk as much about what I've experienced as possible, because I think that makes it authentic to you, right? And
definitely,
like I think I've done some pop songs that are like a lot more like kind of not anti-love songs, but that kind of like punky love song where it's like talking about like not necessarily being like what society expects for you to be when you fall in love, and it's like for a lot more kind of queer audiences, I guess. But I try to draw from my experiences as much as possible. I've got some really fun dancey tracks where I talk about like like social commentary stuff that's happening in London, for example, with nightclubs shutting down, and it's like, you can never take away our dance floors, we'll always find somewhere to dance. Like, trying to always keep it in that, like, social commentary realm, but try and have fun with it as well, not too serious.
And people can relate to that, especially with like nightclubs closing, and I feel like when they can relate to that, they love the music even more, you know.
I hope so, and we need those places. Like, we especially, I mean, it happens all over, but for queer venues, since I moved to London in 2012, since 2010 we've lost 50% of those venues, and like those spaces, like they're like kind of like not religious, but like they're like sacred spaces for a lot of queer people, because you go to these places and find
safe,
and you're safe. Definitely, you find yourself. When I moved to London, I came from a small town and there wasn't any gay bars, and there was one. It was like a wine bar. It wasn't really like a very gay gay bar. And when I went to London, that's when I really found my people. And that's what I worry about as well with everything that's happened over the last year. Like, if you were first moving to London and like getting away from that small town, and we've gone through everything that we have done socially right now, like the way that's going to be detrimental to finding who you are, it worries me for the younger people, because I'm like, they've witnessed, they've lost so much, and like obviously we've lost out by not being able to party, but we've done it before, we're going to do it again. But for those people, it's like they need it, so it's worrying.
Yeah, it's a sense of belonging.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
You need to find your community in order for you to feel, you know, like you're a part of something.
Yeah.
So no, I agree with you totally. And on the discussion of community, June last month was obviously, you know, a month of championing LGBTQ people in general.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like it's so important to have a month of that?
I think because it allows. Because it's more than just corporations getting involved. There's actually some really funny memes of like people folding up flags. It's like July 1st happens, like people get stop, get rid of it. But I think it allows people to, especially younger people, to see that there is a community wherever it is, and that you see that these brands, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing when brands get involved in Pride, because I understand like the essence of what Pride was and was always a protest, and it still is, because there's not equal rights for trans people. There's still a lot of issues that need to be kind of discussed, and like I recently did Trans Pride last week, and that felt like a proper pride, because it was no corporations, it was a protest, people walking through the streets, everyone was having a lovely time.
Did you speak?
Yeah, I did. I stood up and I got asked to speak about, like, say some stuff, and like I've got a lot of trans friends who are transgender, and some people have like over this last year like lost their lives because they've not got access to the medicine that they need, and it's been really a tough time. So I think all of the community coming together, especially because there's a lot of like separation happening within the community, which is a shame, and there's a lot of people trying to get rid of the T in the LGBT, and it's we all need to come together and fight for the same fight as one community.
Definitely.
And I think what's important about Pride Month is it allows people to see that, it allows younger people to see that, older people as well, that it's like newer, like maybe didn't have that in their youth, to see this celebration. And I think it is very important.
And what do you think the divide is? Like, what do you think in between the two communities in general? I mean, it's all one community because we are one, but within that divide, what do you think it is?
I think it's a shame. I think what it comes from is scare tactics that are happening throughout the media. There's a lot of like tactics that are trying to divide people, and they go for marginalised groups to try and get those groups to separate from each other
and influence them.
Them. Yeah, and I think with the LGB, there's a group that are trying to get rid of the T within that. It's a real shame, because without trans people, without gender non-conforming people, we wouldn't be probably where we are today, because they are people that started the Stonewall Uprising. They were the ones that were like at the forefront of it, and they've kind of got us to this point today through a lot of activism, a lot of work, and it's just such a shame to see people not respecting that kind of history and trying to erase those people, when it shouldn't be that, because we are stronger together. And I feel like if other audiences that maybe aren't sold on queer people, or don't think they exist, or don't agree with it, if they see that there's a divide within the community, then they're never going to accept us.
Of course.
It's important. Yeah,
I mean, love always wins in the end of the day. So
definitely.
I hope so.
They can divide in terms of numbers, but not the spirit. So
yeah, true. And that's what Trans Pride felt like. It felt like the spirit was back.
Totally.
Right, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Let's definitely have
on
some
a lighter
fun.
note, Emmanuel is going to say 3 names.
Okay. Ooh.
And you're going to say lips, marry, or cancel.
Lips. So it's lips kiss.
Lips is a kiss.
Marry is and we say cancel, not kill now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to cancel all of them, you can.
Yeah.
Or if you want to kill him, you can kill him as well.
Okay.
It's up
Cool.
to you.
Let's go for
Okay,
it.
so Matt Hancock, Sadiq Khan, Boris Johnson.
Oh my goodness.
I know it's a hard one. We made this as hard as possible.
It was
by the way.
very hard.
Yeah.
I will definitely say marry Sadiq.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And now this is a really difficult one because I
Who
want to
you gonna
cancel
lips?
both of them. I mean, who the hell? Like, out of Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson, who do you want to kiss?
I mean, I think you've seen one of them kiss anyway.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. I don't know because I don't want to get cancelled for saying this.
Yeah,
Listen,
This will be the headline.
This is how you feel today. You might feel different tomorrow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's going to be Bimini talks about wanting to snog Matt Hancock.
And they mean it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, definitely marry Sadiq though. I like Sadiq.
Okay, cool.
Sadiq's a good guy.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll skip that one. Lizzo, Doja Cat, or Little Nas.
Oh, that's a hard one because I do like all 3. I think I would marry Doja Cat.
Okay.
Because she's actually another one, Doja Cat, visually. And her artistry, I think, is really pushing it.
Okay.
And it's really fun to see someone that's in pop doing that. Because I feel like Gaga was one that was like really doing that. And I feel like Little Nas is as well now, which is amazing.
And Lizzo as well.
And Lizzo, yeah.
I mean, all 3.
They all
it's
3
a hard
are,
one.
yeah. I think what I like about Doja is she's a weirdo as well. Like, if you ever watch interviews with her, she's just crazy. Yeah. Marry her. And then I don't know. I don't want to cancel any of them.
Listen, it literally is. You can feel this way today. Tomorrow, you're going to wake up. It's a whole new day.
Exactly.
Oh, well, let's.
Should we change the word cancel to something else?
I think I like the word cancel.
Yeah.
It's better than, kill.
It's
right?
honest.
Yeah.
Well,
You can say cancel for now.
cancel for now, Lil Nas, and I'll kiss Lizzo.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
This is probably the most trickiest one. Madonna, Vivienne Westwood, or Freddie Mercury.
Oh, well, I will say I would kiss Freddie Mercury, marry Westwood, cancel Madonna.
Okay.
That was the quickest.
I know, that's
the decision.
The only reason I say that is because I cancelled Lil Nas, and then I felt like they've just had that little online thing, so I thought I'd just do that.
Even the odds.
Yeah, even it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, marry Westwood because I'd love to get my hands on that archive.
Oh, man.
And Freddie Mercury is just hot.
And Vivienne Westwood in general, is she somebody you look at in terms of inspiration as well, artistically?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think like British fashion designers that were big for me are people like aesthetically and artistry like Galliano, McQueen, and Westwood. Like they're my top 3. I love Mugler as well.
I can see. Now you said all 3 of those names.
Yeah.
It's like spot on.
Yeah,
Totally understand all 3.
But like with Westwood, I think like what I love about Westwood is she wasn't super young when she got into the game of fashion. She was like in her late 30s.
That's
40s.
inspiring to the young or younger or older creatives.
Totally,
coming up,
because she paved a lane for herself and like started like aesthetically with the punk movement, and she's kind of led a lot of like movements now. Like, I mean, there's that funny thing where she's like, "I'm the only person that can solve climate change." I'm like, I love that about her. She's just crazy. But yeah, she's someone that I really respect for everything that she's done, and she has those like no F's given.
And it's necessary as well.
Yeah.
Everything's so
and she
perfect these days that
definitely
people, the perception of trying to be perfect or seeming perfect in a public eye is not real.
Well, it doesn't exist.
It's not. Everyone has their own, thoughts and ideas, and it's good to really display that I feel like Vivian does that really well.
I think like we do try our hardest, especially with social media, to kind of curate this idea of having a perfect life. But it's even when it comes to me with like people ask me questions about gender, and like I'm very open to discuss. And like I think I don't know all the answers. Like there's going to be someone that probably doesn't agree with me with what I say, and I think that's right. I think as humans, language evolves and it always changes, and I think we've just got to know that and accept that.
And it's about educating each other, because as we're in a climate now where not everyone knows about that and about gender, and I think it's about learning.
Totally. And I feel like I would never come for someone or never attack someone for getting something wrong. I think that's not a way to push forward a conversation or advocate for change. I think in some circumstances, like extreme activism has helped in the past, but I feel like when it comes to stuff like language and gender and getting things right, like the best way for change to happen is to be together with it and be accepting that people are like, we all fuck up. We all mess up sometimes.
Right, you can say it,
we all fuck up sometimes.
Yeah. So on that topic then, when we met, I said they, because that's, what you've displayed as how you want to be addressed. If somebody was to say she or he, what do you tend to say, or what do you tend to?
The way I see it is like, because as someone that identifies as kind of non-binary, to me, it's funny. To me, it's about not having a label, but then non-binary is a label. So it becomes a label again. And to me, if I want to be identified as someone that kind of isn't a label, it doesn't really matter if I'm called he, she, or they, because I'm kind of rejecting it. So I'm saying, to me, it's like gender's fine. I'm kind of like, I feel like post-gender almost. Like I feel like it's irrelevant to me, but that's fine. Like how people want to address or like, address me if that people don't understand it. I just say they for most people now, because I feel like it's just like easier to do. But I think for someone that like wants to reject the labels, it's tricky to have a label like non-binary, because it's language and it's evolution of that. And I think there's discourse now that people can understand. And I think like if you were to look back at people like I've mentioned, like Grace Jones and David Bowie, like they were always going against the norms of what gender was. And then maybe there wasn't language then. Maybe it was easier because they were rock stars and like people looked up to them and respected them. But I always found that like the idea of being androgynous and like walking down the street wasn't as easy as me seeing it on television. And it was always tricky for me, because I'd always be like, why can I see someone like Madonna or someone like Grace Jones dressed the way they do and everyone's like, this is amazing, or see in fashion magazines but not really see anyone like me? And when I'm walking down the road, people would give you a bit of jip on the street or like say stuff to you. I never really understood it. So now as I got a bit older and I met a lot more gender non-conforming people, I realized that it's kind of like the rejection of those labels, and then non-binary became a label.
I agree. I agree. I think,
and it's difficult for a lot of people to get an older generation, I feel like, to wrap their head around it and understand it completely.
Yeah, totally. I just think people just need to really understand that it isn't about them. It's not about what they know. This is what it boils down to. It's not about what you know. It's not what about you, essentially, from growing up knowing. It's about what the opposite person feels. Yeah. And if someone wants to be addressed in a certain way, then you address them in a certain
100%.
way. And I think it's really that simple.
Yeah, I think it's down to respect as well. And I think like if you, like I said, I'd never attack or go for someone. And I think we all ultimately want to get along with each other. Everyone does, I would hope. And I think it comes down to like the individual's experience, and like we are all humans navigating this world, and not everyone is going to fit into two categories. Like I mean, it would be boring if they did, like really, because I think that the idea of gender is quite fluid, and I think there is a lot of ways, like you can be very masculine, you can be very feminine, you can kind of float between the two. I think it boils down to really just how you feel, and I think there's a lot more conversation around it now, which is great, and I feel like sometimes people can shut it down, but it's just about being open to know that there are people that are different, and there is someone that identifies as other, and maybe they're not the same as you, and that's okay.
Definitely. Totally.
Now that you live in London, I know you're not from London, where are your go-to party spots pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID.
Or post-COVID.
Or post-COVID. So as soon as I moved to London, it was very like East London, because that's where my family were from originally. My mum's from Scotland, my dad and that side of the family all grew up in London. For some reason, they went to Norfolk in the 80s, and that's where I ended up being brought up.
I know Hunt Stanton.
Yeah, yeah. But I went. As soon as I came back to London, it was more East London. So I'd always go out in like places like Dalston, the Glory, which is where I first started performing, which is an amazing champion place for kind of alternative performance and styles of not just drag but like music and comedy. Dalston Superstore, obviously, that's kind of an iconic one. They do so many cool different nights there, and there's also something called Adonis. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a very kind of queer rave, and it's just loads of fun. Like everyone just
Where is that in Dalston?
No, so they were doing that in Tottenham.
Okay.
So they were doing that at the Cause, and that's been a really fun. I've kind of watched that. I started going to it when it first started in like 2017. I've watched it kind of evolve, and it's just a really fun. You have really good DJs there, like people like Hannah Holland and the Blessed Madonna, like loads of amazing people DJ, and everyone just comes together and dances until like 8 a.m. and I think we all just need that. I really miss that.
And that's what nightlife's about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We need to play at these spots.
Yeah.
Please come and DJ, 100%.
It is. Adonis is really fun. It's really, really good.
Okay, interesting. That was a bit of a pause there. I don't know, Ashton gave me a bit of a weird look, like I said something wrong. Okay, so Adonis is a spot.
Yeah.
Glory. Where in London do you feel like is the place that you find yourself feeling the most excited and alive? Like, is there any spots that you're just like, I just need to be there?
I think the Glory for sure. I think that's the place where I can go and just let go. It's kind of my people. They've supported me before Drag Race. They've obviously seen kind of my platform rise, but I can go there and it's always going to be the same. Like, they don't treat me any differently. It's just like family. And that's where some of my best mates are. That's where some of the best drag artists are. That's where some of the best performers are. And yeah, whenever I go there, I just feel like I'm at home. I keep talking about the Glory, and like the owner was like, you need to stop talking about the Glory because all the Huns keep turning up, which is great. But it's like the crowds that normally go, and then it's all of the like Prosecco Huns, which they're fab. Like we love those. We love the Huns.
We're inclusive.
Yeah.
And where do you see Bimini in the next 5 years? Can we see Bimini on Broadway?
Oh,
that's
maybe
a shout.
Glastonbury.
Even better.
Pyramid stage. That's where we want to go.
No,
I've got
Burning Man.
Burning Man would be really good. I've got lots of exciting things and ideas, and I'm just keep working and keep pushing for it. I think, like, obviously, when I came out of the show, I signed with Next, which was something that I never thought would happen. Shot for Italian Vogue, which like to me was just like mind blowing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was amazing. But I'm working on the music. I've got the book coming out, and I'm just like on that grind.
Got it all going.
Yeah,
It really has.
And if you could tell 16-year-old Bimini one thing, what would it be now?
I would say I always say I wish I'd started performing earlier, because I started quite late. I was like 24. But then I think everything happens for a reason. And I don't think I was ready then, because I kind of moved to London. And as much as I loved it, I got caught up in the hedonism of it. And it's easy to do. And like, I came from like the small town going into the big city, and like I met amazing people, but then I did start partying quite hard. And I feel like I wouldn't have been able to sustain what I'm doing now if I hadn't had those experiences, because I kind of got myself out of that. So I think what I would say to 16-year-old Bimini is that just follow what you want to do, and everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. It's iconic. And I mean this wholeheartedly. There's a lot of people right now, you know, being an advocate of change and trying to, you know, lift people's voices and amplify what's happening in the world, and, you know, sharing a light. But genuinely, you're doing it in a way that feels fun, that feels like, you know, we're listening. You know, we're listening. I'm listening. My siblings are listening. Hope Ashton's listening.
No, I'm listening.
But yeah, we're listening, and hats off to you.
Yeah.
Because it takes a strong person to be in that position, and yeah, we really appreciate what you're doing right now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think like going on the show, I never expected this kind of the level of this to happen. And I think what I've heard from what people have said to me is, when I went on the show and the way that I speak about things, but also my reference points are very British. And I think from people who said to me what I I managed to do was make them feel proud to be British.
100%.
And I feel like we've gone through such a cultural shift over the last 5 years of what it was proud to be British. And I kind of grew up thinking like, I'm so lucky to be here because I can kind of move to London and be queer and experience that, and there's so much diversity. And then there's been that shift that we've seen where it's kind of changed a lot. And I think people don't want to say they're proud to be British, but if I can do anything that makes people feel happy and good and proud and we can push things forward, I think that's the most important thing for me.
Most definitely. And we just want to thank you for coming on the show, obviously, and having your time and your voice. We've actually got some flowers to give you.
Oh, have you?
I'll grab them.
Oh, thank you very
Ashton
much.
always grabs the flowers before I can even think about. Fair enough.
Been eyeing them up. No,
Fair
thank you very much. That's so lovely.
These were done by our artistic director, Tej. He's
amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's
appreciated.
stunning.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bimini Bon-Boulash.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.